What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Stoppage Stooges podcast. We're pretty slimmed down this week, but Ricardo, we got a mega episode on our hands. We got, for the first time ever in Stoppage Stooges history, a two-part episode. That's right, you heard that. 2 parts. First part, Ricardo and I, we're going to talk all about the Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League. We're going to talk about our Real Madrid, your Real Madrid. We're going to talk about the sensational semifinal matchups in Europe. And Ricardo, I mean, our boys are in the final.
Oh,
back.
Man. Oh, my. I mean, yeah, dude, that was wild. Too many emotions going on, man. Yeah, we'll get into that. But, yeah, man, just crazy, knockout stages throughout the Champions League.
Yeah, so you know what? Let's just get right into that then. Well, first, our second part. So we're gonna upload this. We're recording on Thursday, May 9th. This will be uploaded the same day, later in the night. But tomorrow, on Friday, Christian and Jacob are gonna host the second part of this episode, and they're gonna be talking strictly Premier League. And as that title race comes down to the wire between Arsenal and Manchester City. So they'll talk about that. They'll talk about Chelsea's Europa League chances, if there are any. Oh, God, I can't wait to hear what Jacob has to say about that. But we're not worrying about that because we're living happy. We're living happy, Ricardo. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. We'll start with Dortmund PSG because this happened first. My God. PSG. Talk about they call them the postmasters, I mean, Jesus, like they hit the post, I want to say, like 4 times, and then they hit the crossbar a few other times. Like they literally their expected goals were at 3.25 for this match. I mean, and they scored 0 in Paris in Mbappe's last important match for PSG. Hopefully, yeah. Let's try that out, though. In his last dance, I mean, we didn't see this coming, except we should have, because it is PSG, and this was bound to happen historically. But what a nightmare performance in Paris. In Paris, oh my God! Imagine being in the stands for that.
Oh man, yeah. It was like, I don't even know where to go with this because there's so many different things to talk about. Obviously, the number of times PSG hit the post was the biggest, craziest thing out of all of this. I mean, it's not like Dortmund's defense was. I mean, the first leg, yeah, don't get me wrong, they played really, really well. They defended really well. Going to the second leg, kind of expected PSG to be more on the attack, which they were, but man, Gonzalo Ramos again. Just missed chance after missed chance. Like, what did you spend all that money for? Like, the dude is a striker. He's number 9, and I even saw comments saying like, "Oh, Portugal shouldn't even have him in the Euro squad," which is kind of outrageous. But I can understand the frustration on that end. But seriously, he had I don't know 3 or 4. I mean, at least half chances, but as a forward, you were expected to, at least take one of those, right? It's just that was, I mean, just across the board, the finishing was non-existent. So that's why PSG are, going to be sitting at home watching the final instead of playing in it. So,
I mean,
yeah.
Gonzalo Ramos. I mean, with Gonzalo Ramos specifically, there was a moment in the second half where Hakimi had a pullback right to Gonzalo Ramos, perfect pass. Hakimi, I thought, had a good match. He set his guys up well, but it just no one could finish. But Gonzalo Ramos hit it like 10 feet above the crossbar when he was wide open. Dembele, Mr. Wide of Net. I mean, Jesus. I mean, insane. I thought he's the revenge match king. I mean, he just knocked out Barca, but I mean, he couldn't knock out his first squad. I mean, it was a crazy match in that respect. And for Mats Hummels, that header. That I mean, he wasn't like the greatest of strikes off the head. It bounced in the net. I mean, Donnarumma. I mean, I don't really want to blame him
No, that's not
because
on him.
it's the only goal that was given up in this match. And remember, Dortmund won the first like 1-0 as well. It's like I don't know. PSG. This is a all-time disappointment for them. Considering they had, I mean, by all accounts, one of the weakest semifinal opponents they could possibly have in terms of talent in this Dortmund side. But the veteran leadership of Dortmund, they stayed composed the whole time. Good for Marco Reus as well, who his final match for Borussia Dortmund will be in the Champions League final. So good for a club legend like him. But it's borderline disgraceful for PSG, I want to say.
Oh, and especially when you factor in, they didn't have a game on the weekend. Like Dortmund did. They played. Who they play? Augsburg. They won 5-1. Absolutely killed them. But still, it's extra rest for PSG. Like there was obviously losing Lucas Hernandez was huge. That I feel so bad for him. That's his, I think, second ACL tear now. So but even so, like you had more rest going into this game. And it was just the yellow wall, man. They were that good. Mats Hummels was leading that charge, man. It's just, I mean, that for me, like for him to have a shot at redemption, what was it, like 10 years later, or when was it, 2015, 11 years later? So I mean, that's that, and Marco Reus too. Like that's amazing that those headlines, those storylines going into the game. But I mean, credit to Dortmund for really defending well, and just PSG, just couldn't finish to save their lives. So that's what really did them in. And one mistake on the corner, and now they're out. So
the acquisition of Ian Maatsen for Dortmund
so good,
sensational. Totally solidified that left back spot. Then he had a really good match against PSG. Julian Brandt was sensational. He had the Hummels goal came on a corner. Brandt was the one who took the corner, so it was a good ball from him. But they did what they had to do. Dortmund, they somewhat parked the bus once they scored that goal, which rightfully so. You're up 2-0 in aggregate. And they did a wonderful job. I mean, PSG had their moments. They had their chances. Nuno Mendes had an absolute cracker that hit the post that, like, probably should have went in as well. I mean, you can name it
too, right? I think
Vitinha, hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, PSG had so many chances, which
Mbappe
was the story. It was the story of the first. Oh god, the one where he didn't connect completely and it hit the crossbar as well.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, this was the story of the first leg as well, and I mean, it just repeated itself. And God, Warren Zaire Emery was non-existent, and I had him as my X factor going into this matchup, and there's nowhere to be found. I very disappointed in PSG. Now I know you hate them very much, so I know you're very, very happy. But hey, good for Dortmund. Kind of a weird club season for them. League season. I mean, weird league season for them. But hey, like they're in the Champions League final, so it's been somewhat successful for them. You can't deny that. Other than that, though, there's not really much to talk about for this. Like, other than that, from this match, I think. I mean, Kobel did a good job, their goalkeeper.
Well, he's top 10 in the league, maybe top 6, I'd say, keepers in the world. He's very good.
He did a great job in that, but I mean, Just very, very disappointing performance from PSG.
Yeah.
And Dortmund has moved on to play in Wembley Stadium June 1st against my Real Madrid, your Real Madrid, our Real Madrid. And boys, or actually, we only have one boy today. I just realized.
Same thing. It all
Hey,
works.
whatever. I'm just gonna, I humble brag here. I'm in first now in the Champions League point standings because I nailed the correct score of this matchup. 4-3 aggregate. Had it all the way.
Round of applause for you.
Had it all the way. I saw the vision. But my God, I really thought we were gonna end up losing. Alphonso Davies, we've talked a lot about on this podcast as a potential Real Madrid target based on reports. You were very anti Alphonso Davies, which I can understand. He hasn't really, especially recently, he's lost favor in Bayern Munich. But he came up with this wonderful goal off his weak foot. Absolutely zipped it in net past Andre Lunin. And I thought that was over because it was an ugly game for Real Madrid. They had chances. Vinny was making stuff happen. But it just, nothing could go beyond the net until, of course, Cardiac Madrid.
Yeah, literally.
Right? Cardiac Madrid. It's like, this is historically always Cardiac Madrid. It's always like 80th minute plus something happens. And especially at home in the Bernabeu, like this was a magical moment for Real Madrid. Joselu, who was playing for Espanyol, who was loaned out to Real Madrid, went to watch Real Madrid in the Champions League last season as a supporter. 34 years old, gets loaned out to Real Madrid for some depth. And he comes up with the two biggest goals of the season.
And of his life.
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness. I thought, well, first, we had that first goal from, that was when Nacho pushed over Kimmich. And, like, he kicked in and deflected off some bodies and got past Neuer. I thought that's when, I thought we were starting to roll then, but that was taken away. So, you can't claim Vardrid. You can't claim Vardrid after that.
That was right. That was the right call.
Exactly. It was the absolute right call. Absolute right call. So you can't be going after all these Real Madrid haters, all these FC Fragilona fans. They can't go after Real Madrid and call them Vardrid after that because, come on.
Disallowed. Right.
Yeah, come on. But after that, Joselu comes up with a magical strike at the 88th minute to equalize the match. But then the second goal was even better. The second goal was even better because I jumped out of my seat. Antonio Rudiger with the ball, playing like he's a left back. It was probably a better pass than Ferland Mendy could ever make.
Yeah, literally.
Zipping it in to Joselu, who I thought initially, once I saw like live, I was like, oh, goal. They're showing the replays. I was like, oh, maybe offsides?
Yeah.
Like potentially maybe this will get disallowed, but the goal line technology said it was a goal. They gave it to Real Madrid. Wonderful performance, but then the most controversial moment of the match happened.
Of course, had to happen.
The most controversial moment when the assistant referee puts up his flag too early. You see, on a potential Bayern goal, I've always been on the side of don't let them play it out too long. Like, hey, like maybe you should make a decisive decision. So like this kind of like goes with my stance
Yeah.
Like the assistant referee, if they see it's offside, put it up immediately. Don't let them play and let something crazy happen injury wise or whatever. I disagree with this instance because it was so bang bang.
Yeah.
Yet it was stopped too quickly. The offside was called too quickly, and because of that, they Bayern probably had a clear goal. I feel really bad for the supporters. Then again, I don't. But because we're in the final, but it's a testament to the officiating in soccer right now. And I mean, add this to the list of things that need to be fixed, right, Ricardo? What were your thoughts on the match overall?
Well, I'll just stick with that specific moment for
Sure.
now because, I mean, yeah, it was the biggest talking point. I mean, the more I I mean, I was in the car when this happened. Well, actually, no, I was in
Same.
the car when I was in the car when sorry, the 2 goals Hostelu scored happened.
Oh,
But this one, I had just gotten home and like I saw, like my brother was watching on TV and I walked in and saw this happened and I was like, oh, like maybe they should have let him play because I was again reading stuff and I was like, in that situation, like the referee has to swallow the whistle because you just have
right.
to let it go. And the other thing is, as soon as the whistle is blown, the play is dead. Everyone stops, so there's no guarantee that
Mm-hmm.
that would have been a goal anyway. Like Lunin didn't even dive. Who was the other defender? Rudiger, I think, didn't even
Yeah.
attempt to block it like he always does. So once the whistle's gone, it's over. It's dead. Like again, there's no guarantee that would have actually been a goal, but this was an instance where the ref. I mean, I don't know if the side official was wrong necessarily. I think it was more the main official, the main referee,
Sure.
the guy like actually blowing this whistle, using
Right.
it. Like I think it was more up to him. Like he could have just let it play out, and I think that's what should have happened. But I know I said in our group chat yesterday that yeah, Bayern were robbed, but like again, that's all in theory, that's all hypothetical, and it's like, and I would probably feel differently if I were on the other side of it, but like, but I don't know. It's just that moment. It's a shame that that's the thing we think about now instead of the 2 Hoslugos. It just takes away from the magic that happened just a few minutes before. Um, but overall, I think, well, at least from that call, it should have been played out. But I mean, just the game overall. Like, yeah, I was in the same boat as you, just a roller coaster of emotion. And just I was on the train and I saw the Davies goal. I was like, I like wow. Like I put my phone on, like I kind of just tossed my phone on the seat of the where I was sitting. I'm like, damn, like that was just such a good goal. I can't even be mad at it because, well, like I was, but like just the class and like the on his weaker foot, Davies' weaker
Yep.
foot, like to place it where he did. I
It was
mean, it
perfect.
was just like I'm. That was just as much as I hated it. Hurt as much as that hurt in the moment. Like respect. Like you just Harry Kane also deserves credit for that for finding him in the first
Oh,
place.
what a freaking
That
ball!
was such an
It
amazing
was like
ball.
50 yards high up in the. I mean, what a nasty cross! Like
I
across
mean,
the field. Like, oh my god.
the one thing I
Uh,
will say, Carvajal maybe could have slide tackled to try and block it because he did kind of get close enough to the point where maybe he could have had some influence on it, but it just didn't because I don't think he wanted to risk sliding and fouling, giving up a pen, that whole thing, which I've been in that situation, so that makes sense.
mhm.
But I mean, in that moment, after that happened, I was like, yeah, I was worried, but there was the part of me in the back of my head, or just that voice was like, this is Madrid. Like this, these are the moments that we're built for. Like this team, just for some reason, when it's all odds against them, everything stacked against them, they just find a way to get back into it. And I mean, it's just the first thing I thought of, Man City. I mean, Obviously, not this past, Champions League. I mean, 2 seasons ago when
Right.
Rodrigo scored those 2 goals in the 90th and 94th minute to take it to extra time, and the rest is history on that. But I mean, for it to have happened again was not surprising, and yet it was so surprising the way it happened because it was Joselu. The fact that it was, of all people, him, the guy who's loaned out to us, the guy who really hasn't played very much and hasn't had much game time recently. Well, recently only because we've already won the league. So other than that, he really wasn't the kind of guy that would make an impact on the game. I mean, I also credit Ancelotti for this, for bringing him on, because I don't think I would have if I were him in that moment. I'm not my mindset is not put him on the field. He's gonna get us goals. That's like a 34-year-old. He's a striker, but still, I would have kept Brahim Diaz, Rodrigo, Vini up there. Just have those three. I think we did that at some point. This is it might have been last leg actually. I was just get our pace, our best players out there on the field and let them do their thing. But it's just for some reason Ancelotti, and then these moments too, always pushes the right button. I don't know what it is, but he just has a knack and a feel for the game. When it's just man, that's the thing that stands out to me more than Pep. It's just his feel for the game is just, I think, above every other manager's. Pep is a great tactician and all, and
yes,
but when it comes to just getting a sense for what is needed in that moment, I think Carlo is the best at it. And again, it happened.
I totally agree, and give him credit. He didn't waste any time. He did it right after the Davies goal. I mean, first off, he made a slew of changes. We were texting, when is he gonna bring in Brahim? When is Brahim Diaz gonna come in? And he was listening. And that's when the match changed to our favor. A few minutes after that. But also, bringing on he wasn't extraordinary when he came on, but my guy had Kamavinga. He came on for Tchouaméni, and I thought he looked just much better from what we were trying to do against Bayern at that point than Tchouaméni did. And don't get me wrong, I love Tchouaméni. We had the idea of playing him at center back and starting Kamavinga in Tchouaméni's spot in the midfield, but it worked out, in the end. So whatever. But I would like to see Kamavinga start over him at this point. Because
Tchouaméni's also injured now.
Yes, that's good point.
Stress fracture, I believe. What is it? I can't remember. It's on the stress fracture, I think.
Yeah, it's a I had it literally on the side, but I'll find it.
There's a chance that
he's projected to come back around the time of the Champions League final. So he bet your ass he won't come back for the league season since that's already wrapped up.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
But he there's a chance he could play in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
So there's that going. But then again, how much trust would you have with that type of injury so quickly? Yeah, I wouldn't put much stock into that. But yeah, Kamavinga's impact is without question. I was going to say, give him credit for Luka Modric, who came on and should have had the assist. Just kidding. On that weird nacho goal. But Luka Modric, he came on and he was like, that it's made everyone calm. It was like they didn't panic after the Davies goal, which was very cool to see from a somewhat young Real Madrid team. They didn't panic. They've been in these positions before. They've been coached so brilliantly by Carlo. We're gotta be so happy he's not leaving. I'm so glad he's not leaving. And I mean, phew, just a sensational Real Madrid match. What else can you say about that? And I teared up when Militao was brought on in the 90th minute. I was like, yes, my guy,
The extra defender.
the extra defense. But like my guy Militao, after all that's happened. But yes, just the cinema, which we've been calling every Real Madrid match cinema the past few weeks. But hey, this is the best. This would win an Oscar if it were a movie.
It would, yeah.
This would win an Oscar. And then you'd have the greatest sequel of all time once Mbappe joins us. But no, it was. Got to give credit to Bayern. They.
Yeah,
I thought that these were their best overall performances of the season. Just in terms of the quality they faced and the situation. I thought I got to give some credit to Thomas Tuchel, especially not starting Kim and Jay this match either. Who came on and hit the crossbar as well, but it ended up being a foul anyways. But still hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
So I mean, got to think. There's been petitions from the Bayern supporters. I saw one to keep Tuchel. So I it's footy fans, they change their minds every second.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. But hey, we robbed them of the Bayern Dortmund Champions League final.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Thank God. Even though I picked Bayern to be in the Champions League final, much rather have my team in the Champions League final than have a preseason prediction correct. But hey, we're looking forward to it. And I mean, now that we have that final set against Dortmund, I mean, what's an immediate reaction to that matchup?
I mean, just the storylines going into this. Obviously, Dortmund back at Wembley, they lost to Bayern.
Yeah.
And Jude facing his old club, of course, his first season with Real, signed from Dortmund from what was it, 100 million?
100 million. And speaking of, I saw something funny about that. If Dortmund wins the Champions League final, I believe UEFA gives them 20 million euros.
Wait,
however, if Jude Bellingham and Real Madrid wins the Champions League final, due to a clause they had in the transfer, they get 25 million.
Oh, wait, Dortmund gets 25 million
if Madrid wins.
How does that work?
It was something in the contract. There's a stipulation. So if they lose, they actually get more money. Which I doubt they're going to tank this match.
No, it's not.
There's too much pride on the line. And it's only 5 million euros, so it's not a big deal, but still kind of funny. It's kind of like, we lost, but whatever. We still got more money. So
we get 25 mil. It's all right.
So that was something funny I saw.
That's so interesting.
That. I don't know how true that is, but I saw that around in a few tweets. So, no, the Jude storyline is incredible. Just to be able, Madrid going this far without like a dominant number 9,
without Courtois and Militao for the majority of the season.
I was reading that Courtois is pushing the comeback for the Champions League final. I'm like, no way in hell. Don't have him. You don't need to have him play this final. Lunin took you this far.
That's what I'm saying.
He's done so well in that you don't need to push Courtois and potentially risk further injury. Save him for next season when he's fully fit.
Yeah,
But
I'm very much with that.
yeah. It's a crazy narrative. Like, I mean, I get it if you're Courtois, you want to have some impact this season.
But like he has to understand, like he's been out for literally just about the entire season. So I mean,
and getting re-injured and going through the rehab process again. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's he's already won one anyway. Not to say that like even if we do win, he still wins another technically.
Right?
But
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like
pride.
This is Looney's time to shine. Like this is
he deserves
him. Yeah, exactly. He's been.
Yep.
I mean, ever since that change we were talking about way back in January against Atletico, or like we should take Kepa out of the starting lineup, and it hasn't been. It's been like better than expected. I'll say.
Yes.
With some bumps here and there, but
it's a good point. It hasn't been flawless. It hasn't. It's not like he's been the best keeper in the world.
Right, but at least like you have with him now and talks about extension and if you're truly like I think this is just how I view it. If you truly want to keep him, you're gonna play him in the final because he's taken you this far. So I don't know. That's another I guess interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love Andre Lunin, and I think Carlo will make the right choice. He'll take Courtois.
He always does.
Down and rest. That was a long time before he finally settled on Lunin. If I had to criticize Carlo on something, it was probably that. I mean, I get Kepa, like I get this is his only season here. He wanted to be here. But he's just awful. He was so bad. So bad. I know Jacob wants him back so badly. Please,
you can have him.
He could have had him yesterday, for all I care. But no, this will be a good final. And hey, we've been doubting Dortmund.
Yeah.
Ever since the group stage, and they keep proving us damn wrong every single time.
Which is scary. I don't like that.
Very scary. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that this is Marco Reus's last match for Borussia Dortmund. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the fact that Jadon Sancho's coming home. Now we do have Jude coming home, of course. So.
Oh, but yeah,
but I don't like. There's a lot of factors going into this match. Very interesting. By no means a slouch of a final. This is not going to be easy for Madrid.
No, it's not.
By any means. It's gonna be very competitive based on all the Dortmund matches we've watched in Europe the past few months. But I mean, it's funny because we talked about it a few weeks ago after they beat City. Just the decrease in quality.
Yeah.
For the successive opponents of Real Madrid. You go from Man City, arguably the best
team in the world,
one of the best teams in the world, to Bayern, who's been, who has a roster that, could compete with anyone, but they've been struggling to figure it out. Going down to Dortmund, which by no means has the quality of the other two opponents, but they have a spark of energy that Bayern didn't have. I'll argue City has it. That was a coin flip, that City match. So, but Bayern sure didn't have the spark of energy that Dortmund has shown in their knockout stages, knockout stage matches. So, that's hard to stop. I mean, comparing it. We love to compare this to American sports. What a thrill if you're a Real Madrid, Knicks, and Rangers fan, New York Rangers fan. I mean, there are so many. It's funny to compare Real Madrid to the Knicks. It's something I never thought I would do in my life. But there's something there's something about those two sides. Now, Ricardo is a Philadelphia 76ers fan, as we talked about in this podcast.
Tragically,
so the New York Knicks defeated in amazing fashion in the first round of the NBA playoffs this year. But oh no, yeah.
To me, at least.
But very down on this team. But the will to never give up, the heart, the desire to claw back into whatever deficit they come, the chemistry. All these guys love each other. That's clear. That's clear. I mean, there are so many similarities. Watching them at the same time in dare I say postseason performances, it's been unreal. I'm sure if Jacob were here, he'd agree as a fellow Knick fan. But it's just what a good sports time to be in. For a New York Real Madrid supporter like me. Just what a fun time. That's all I want to say about that. Don't care if that didn't make any sense. Hopefully you get it. But
made sense.
Yeah, not so much for the Philadelphia Real Madrid fan, but whatever. You got the Eagles. Moving on. Let's quickly talk about what happened in the Europa League and Conference League since those have happened. Actually, before we get to that, you had any other thoughts heading into Dortmund, Madrid?
I just hope it's not a 1-0 win to either side, because that's not entertaining. I feel like every year it's like that. It's like at least the past couple of seasons. It's like low scoring.
You know what kind of worries me too is we talked about it last week as well, how Real Madrid plays different when they're away. I wonder how the neutral site for this team will affect them. I know for sure there's gonna be a ton of Madrid support. I mean, there always is, but especially in a Champions League final, you're gonna have it. So I think they will. My hope is that they will play to the form that we expect them to play in. I mean, especially against a Dortmund, Real Madrid should be the possession heavy team. They should be the attacking side. They should be pushing, as they've done all year. They should have that confidence. But there's a little bit that concerns me. I would say it's like a 10% concern that they might get hesitant in the moment. Maybe in like the first half. But
yeah, that I could see. Yeah, first half.
Like that's gonna be when they're most vulnerable, is the first half.
First 10 minutes, especially because sometimes you're just trying to feel it out. So I don't know. Anything's possible, man. So
yeah, so that's what concerns me, but I think they'll be fine. We'll give score predictions and all that hoopla when we have the four of us together. We just wanted to give our initial thoughts on the matchup, as it's finally been set. We've been waiting all year for this. Honestly, if this team construction, it's farther than I thought Real Madrid would go. So I'm already very proud, Papa. But finish the story, to quote Cody Rhodes. All right, now we move on to Europa League and Conference League talk. Let's quickly touch the Conference League. Fiorentina, Dan Albach, his Serie A side. Fiorentina, let's go. That's something for us. The one Fiorentina Liverpool supporter in the world. His side goes on to the Conference League final after beating Club Brugge from Belgium. 4-3 because of a late penalty in the 85th minute of the second leg in Belgium. Oh, that must have been dreadful for Club Brugge supporters.
Yeah.
But they move on to the Conference League final against something we didn't expect this beatdown from Olympiacos against Villa. 6-2 aggregate. They beat them 4-2 at Villa Park. I mean,
Somehow,
what
yeah.
a meltdown for Villa. And it's been a rough last few weeks for Villa, even in league pay. I mean, even my Brighton side beat them 1-0. Which, I mean,
it's pretty sad.
I mean, you got to be really bad to lose to Brighton now. I mean, in the past few months. But, you know, when you have a team that has João Pedro, anything could happen. That's all I got to say. Villa, you cannot be losing like this to Olympiacos, especially if you're trying to, you know, I wonder how that's going to affect their confidence the rest of the Premier League season as well, especially in a tight battle for fourth. But they're really trying to bottle that right now. So
they're a mess, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say anymore about them.
Yeah, I'm sure Jacob and Christian will talk a little bit more about Villa in the league in our second part. But how do we feel about Olympiacos and Fiorentina?
Definitely not the final I was expecting, at least Olympiacos wise. Like this was Villa. Like Villa were favorites, and
right.
I mean for them to like crumble the way they did was. I mean, I was watching that first game. It were just a mess at like every part of the field. They missed a penalty that was huge. I think it was who was it? Douglas Luiz, I think, that missed it. Mm-hmm. He hit it wide. I think it was either 3-2 or 4-2. Mm-hmm. Might have been 3-2. I think this was to tie the game. I might be wrong on that, but either way, they were trailing and Douglas Luiz missed it wide. And I mean that at that point I was just like, man, I didn't say it was over, but like you just had a feeling that it wasn't going to go their way. And especially going back to Greece, you know, like I just those environments I feel like are kind of they're kind of slept on. They're underrated, I guess.
Greece, Turkey,
not as big. So yeah, it's just I didn't feel good about them after the leg. Of course, they lost 2-0 and pretty much confirmed what I had the feeling of. So on that front, that's pretty bad. Fiorentina, on the other hand, I mean, they were in the final last year, weren't they? Or 2 seasons ago?
I think it was them and West Ham.
It was. Yeah, it was them and West Ham. Yeah. West Ham won that, obviously, because they were in the Europa League. So a chance at redemption for them. That'll be cool to watch. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Conference League hasn't been in existence that long, so it's not like it means very much in terms of who. Where are Olympiacos?
They're sitting fourth right now in the.
That's the other thing. That's like
league table.
They're not doing that great.
I think when the first leg was going on, I think they were sitting fifth. So like, they're not doing well in their league. I mean, they're still, of course, top end of their league, but it's the Greek league. So like the fact that just made it even worse for Villa. And by the way, the missed penalty was when it was 4-2 already.
Oh, it was 4-2. Okay, well at least. Yeah.
But still, I mean, it could have
at least given them the lifeline. Like.
Yeah, especially heading to a second leg. But yeah, very very disappointing from the Villa perspective. I think I'd have to go Fiorentina, obviously. I think in this matchup, but that's the Conference League final coming up. Now Europa League, a little interesting here. Well, first quickly, Atalanta beat up on Marseille. Well, the first leg ended 1-1, but the second leg back in Atalanta. 3-0 for them, took total control as they move on to the Europa League final. And that was all they were losing in possession as well in that match, and so their counterattack did well, created some good big chances for Atalanta. I just love saying Atalanta. I always have, always will. But I think the more interesting matchup was Leverkusen and Roma.
Yeah.
And man, that second leg, we just finished watching it, or at least I did, before we started recording this episode. And Roma, I mean, talk about a bottle. They were up 2-0, up to the 82nd minute of this match, and so on aggregate it was tied 2-2. So it would have gone extra time, and this was away at Leverkusen. But then an awful own goal, puts Leverkusen in front. Leverkusen missed a chance to put it away like a few minutes after that, when Schwiler, the Roma keeper, was playing pretty much almost at midfield, and Leverkusen got possession and tried to chip it over, but it was just an awful hit. Literally, I mean, missed wide left, like at least 10 feet. Like it was a terrible hit, but that would have put it away. But Leverkusen still found a way to score a goal after that, and they ended up winning on aggregate 4-2. So the Europa League final is Bayer Leverkusen and Atalanta, with a chance to go to the Champions League. Man, this will be a fun. This screams Europa League. I love this because this is like one of the more Europa League matchups you'd have in the final. This year, of course, Leverkusen has won the Bundesliga, so it's a much more dominant side in the Europa League final. But I just love it with these Europa League final matchups. But what's your thoughts on Atalanta and Leverkusen?
I mean, we all thought Liverpool would be the one facing Leverkusen in the final, and yet it's the team that beat them, which I guess isn't that surprising because, I mean, if you beat Liverpool, you could, I don't want to say beat anyone, but you can beat a lot of teams. And they beat down on Marseille, and that was at home, so that definitely helped them going. I mean, it was 1-1 first leg going to the second, so yeah, they definitely had the advantage there, and they did their job. But Leverkusen, I mean, never losing, man. They just keep doing like it doesn't make sense. They scored. I mean, I don't know if you saw this tweet or this stat, but Leverkusen have scored 14 goals after the 90th minute this season. That's insane.
Talk about cardiac.
That's even more cardiac than Real Madrid. That's insane.
Absolutely.
I don't think even in the season where we won the Champions League and had those comebacks, I don't think we had that many. And also they're still unbeaten. They didn't lose. They drew 2-2, and so 49 unbeaten games. I think that's the record now. I think that, or at least tied with the of all time. It's just club record. That's doesn't make sense. But I mean, it's just insane, man. It's just one of those finals where it's like Leverkusen's definitely favored, but Atalanta, I wouldn't sleep on them. It's kind of similar to the Champions League final. It's like I wouldn't sleep on them. Like they're not a pushover, even though one side might be heavily favored over the other. Like anything's possible, anything can happen. So. Yeah, you're right though. It does scream Europa League final. It's just, just feels like it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I love it. Of course, Atalanta's got some talent. I mean, Scamacca, of course, is their striker of Italy, and
pretty good with them.
Yep, and I mean they've been playing well. My favorite, I didn't get the chance to watch this match, but I was quickly looking at match ratings. I love to do that. And our favorite player, the abomination, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I wish Jacob was here to hear this. You want to guess his foot mob rating?
Oh God, like a 6.
Close, 5.9.
Wow.
Yeah, 5.9. Yeah, 69%. Nice, accurate passes. Yeah. God, only one successful dribble.
Wow, he was that bad.
Yeah, he was bad on aerial duels and ground duels. Yeah, tough performance.
Not a good game for him. Not bad.
For the abomination.
And he didn't score in either leg, right? He didn't score the first one.
No.
So, wow.
Yeah, this disappointing for Aubameyang and Marseille, who we thought were pretty even with Atalanta.
Yeah.
Heading in. But yeah, no, Atalanta, once they got back home in Italy, and that Italian environment is unreal. I'm sure that played a massive factor in this second leg. But very much looking forward to that Europa League final. Do we know where it is, the Europa League final?
I think it's in Dublin, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, it's Dublin. It's definitely Dublin. Yeah, Dublin, May 22nd. May 22nd. We're gonna have a nice watch party out west of Jacob, Christian, and I. That's during our trip.
Wish I could be there.
We'll schedule that. Yeah, no, fun times. I think that's all we have on the docket for this episode. At least this part. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or? No, good. Or
I think we covered it all. Yeah, we covered all of the European competitions. So
yeah. Ricardo and I were the European boys today. We were tasked with European stuff, and I think we got all of it. Well, like I said before, be on the lookout for part 2 of this episode. Should be coming out tomorrow around 10 a.m. Let's say I'll schedule it for. So be on the lookout for that as we enter a league weekend of important matchups. I know Jacob and Christian, they're gonna be talking about Man U and that downfall, and I mean Tottenham has been awful. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna talk about Villa. I mean, no one wants to be 4th in the Premier League right now, which is hilarious. No. It's great. I love this. Is the content we need. I mean, yeah, Chelsea somehow has a chance, so whatever. Somehow. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. If you have any suggestions, any comments, please let us know. We love to interact with the audience. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. And yeah, Ricardo, our boys are in the finals. Let's go, baby. Yes. Let's go. Yeah. Yes. And let's go. And I'm in front of the Champions League live standing. Let's go.
Relax. Okay.
I overtook Ricardo, so he's a little salty. A little
bit. I'll have to get a correct score to overtake you again.
Yeah. If anyone deserves it, it's Ricardo. JK, I gotta win. All right. Yeah, that was a fun episode. But we'll see you with everyone hopefully next week. So we'll get that going. All right, everyone. Take care.